What is up, my Eagle Fang Badasses? May the 4th be with you. Hello. Now, I know this video is a few days late, but in honor of May the 4th this past Monday, today I will be ranking all 11 theatrically released live-action Star Wars movies from worst to best. That Clone Wars movie doesn't count. With that, for those of you who are new here, my name is Alex, and every single week I upload new videos where I either do something fun, nerdy, or badass in hopes that it inspires you to follow your dreams. So, if that's something that interests you, then you should consider clicking that subscribe button down below. It's entirely free to do so, it helps out the channel a ton, and it'll even notify you when I post a new video. So, it's a win-win for all of us. Also, all of my videos now moving forward, including my previous videos on this channel, now have timestamps. So, if you need to watch my videos in parts, you can now do so by clicking your desired timestamp in the description of each video. Lastly, this ranking isn't the right list, it's just my list. So, if you disagree with my opinions, I'd love to see your rankings down in the comments below. However, all I ask is that you please keep your comments respectful in the comment section down below. With all that out of the way, let's get into this ranking. Number 11, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Oof, The Last Jedi. The reason The Last Jedi is so low on my list is because of its treatment of Luke Skywalker. With most people who hate this movie, they usually go to two scenes. It's the scene where Luke ignites his lightsaber right in front of Kylo while he's sleeping, and it's the fact that he abandoned all his friends and family for so long. Let's go to the scene where he ignites his lightsaber in front of a sleeping Kylo. In that movie, there are actually 3 times this happens. One is Luke's biased fictional perspective, the other one is Kylo's biased fictional perspective, and then there's the actual one. So what actually happens is Luke ignites the lightsaber, is tempted by the dark side to take out Kylo right there, and then he hesitates and doesn't go through with it. It's actually very similar to what Luke does to Vader in Return of the Jedi after he chops off Vader's hands. Instead of going for the kill, he's about to because Vader had threatened Leia a couple scenes earlier, but then ultimately Luke throws his lightsaber away and tells Palpatine no, he's not going to turn to the dark side. So, those scenes I think mirrored each other pretty well. That scene I was okay with. But the fact that Luke vanishes and abandons his family out of shame for attempting to kill his nephew is terrible. Luke would never abandon his family like that. Yeah, he would definitely feel shame and guilt. I will give him that. But the fact that he would go away to die when at the time he was the only Jedi around, because Kylo pretty much took out all the new Jedi Order. So with Luke being the only Jedi around, the only hope the galaxy had at the time, he vanishes and abandons everything? No, that is definitely not Luke Skywalker. That is disrespectful to his character. It just goes to show that Disney doesn't respect their legacy characters at all. Also, what didn't help was there's a whole plot line on a casino planet between Finn, that Rose chick, and BB-8 that literally goes nowhere. So, yeah. For the treatment of Luke and the time wasted over stupid stuff in that movie, those are my biggest reasons why The Last Jedi is so low on my list. Number 10. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. Now, this was the 3rd movie in the sequel trilogy, and at this point, Disney knew they had messed up with their Star Wars films, their new Star Wars trilogy. So, what did they do? They made a movie to try to please everyone and ended up pleasing no one. And that was The Rise of Skywalker. Another thing that didn't help was with this movie, Disney gave us the dumbest line in Star Wars history. You might think the dialogue in the prequels are bad, but this one takes the cake. You should know what line I'm talking about. This one right here.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. Somehow Palpatine returned. What on earth were they thinking? Honestly, after The Last Jedi, I was so ticked off at Star Wars at this point, so I was just happy that the trilogy was over. I don't really have anything terribly good or terribly bad to say about this movie because it was just there. It shouldn't have existed because Disney had no plan for their sequel trilogy in the first place. They were going to have 3 directors, direct 3 different movies, do whatever they want, and that was a recipe for disaster right there. So, yeah, this movie isn't good by any means, but it's slightly better than The Last Jedi because they weren't actively trying to piss off their fan base. Number 9, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Now we got Solo: A Star Wars Story. The biggest problem with this movie was it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie. The guy that got to play young Han Solo didn't really feel like Han Solo at all. The material he was given for the movie did not help his case. And the way he got his name was when he signed up for the Empire gave him the last name Solo. That's how he got his freaking last name. Other than that, this was just kind of supposed to be an origin story for how Han met Lando and Chewie and got his hands on the Millennium Falcon and how he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Was the movie bad? No. But even though it had Star Wars characters, the young actors did not feel like their actual counterparts from the original trilogy at all. Lando and Han, no. That just didn't do it. Was it a bad movie? No. Good movie? It was okay. Solo was okay, but it did not feel like a Star Wars movie, even though it had major Star Wars characters. So, that's why Solo can only make it to number 9 on this list. Number 8, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now we're on the first prequel for my list. Star Wars The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. The biggest problem with the prequels are there is so much talking, like a lot of talking. The characters are just sitting in rooms talking for majority of the movies, and they all have terrible dialogue and terrible lines. The dumb dialogue has nothing to do with the actors' acting abilities. It has everything to do with the writing for these movies. Also, The Phantom Menace brought us Jar Jar Binks, and he took up way too much screen time. Pod racing was kind of stupid. And the only real good part about this movie was the lightsaber duel on Naboo between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. That's actually why The Phantom Menace is above the Disney trash that you already saw on this list. With The Phantom Menace, I don't hate what George Lucas tried to do, but it was just boring. It's the most boring of all the prequels, which is why it's only at 8 on this list. Number 7. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now we are at Attack of the Clones. This one has more dumb dialogue, and there's a lot more talking in this movie. But what puts this slightly above The Phantom Menace is there's way more action going on. Like Obi-Wan meeting Jango Fett on Kamino, the whole plot with the clone army, and then the Geonosis battle where you see all those Jedi ignite their lightsabers for the first time, and you see how many Jedi there actually are in the galaxy. So it was just more action-packed, which is why this is above The Phantom Menace. The biggest problem with this movie is Anakin Skywalker. And again, that's nothing to do with Hayden Christensen's acting ability. It has to do with the writing he was given. The whole Anakin and Padme falling in love plotline just came across as creepy because Anakin was obsessed with Padme since he met her as a 9-year-old. So, is it the best movie? God, no. But is it better than some of the other Star Wars movies that they made? Unfortunately, yes.
Number 6, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Now we're at The Force Awakens, the only actual decent movie in the sequel trilogy. The Force Awakens ended up being the first Star Wars movie to come back to theaters since 2005 when Revenge of the Sith was in theaters. And if you want to go back even further, it was the first time everyone got to see their favorite characters from the original trilogy come back on the main screen since the 80s. The original trilogy came out before I was born, so I never experienced those in the theater. But all Star Wars fans who grew up with the originals were just happy to see their favorite characters back on screen. Or at least they thought they would be. But The Force Awakens pretty much gave Han and Chewie a lot of screen time. Leia was sidelined, and Luke got like 5 seconds of screen time. All because Disney wanted to introduce everyone to the new characters. Okay, for the first movie in a trilogy, fine, I guess. But the fact that you didn't give Luke, Han, and Leia a scene together in the entire trilogy is just a sin. And the big reason for that is because they decided to kill off Han Solo in this movie. But plot-wise, it was just kind of a rehash of A New Hope. But at the same time, it didn't really feel all that Star Wars-y. Yes, you have a droid that has key information for the rebellion, or in this case, the resistance. You have a whole plot line that takes place in a glorified Death Star. You have an old mentor figure getting killed near the end of the movie. So, yes, there's a lot they take from A New Hope's formula for this movie. But I think it was just the way Disney went about making The Force Awakens, because the entire time I watched, just something felt off. It didn't feel like Star Wars. And I think the biggest reason was Lucas was not involved. Disney didn't want George Lucas involved in any way. George Lucas added this charm, this style to both the prequels and the original trilogy that were just missing from the Disney sequel trilogy. So, was The Force Awakens bad? No. But was it lazy? Absolutely. They were trying to be really safe with this movie, which is why it was very formulaic with A New Hope.
Number 5, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Now, let's talk about Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith has non-stop action from space battles to lightsaber fights to you name it. The big downside with Sith is there's still a lot of talking. Not as much talking as Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but there is still a lot of talking. Also, some of the dialogue is horrible. Like,
"It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!"
Yeah, no shit, Obi-Wan. We can clearly see you standing on the high ground. Anyway, what this movie does really well is show Anakin's fall to the dark side. And really show how well of a manipulator Palpatine is. How he manipulates Anakin with the fear of him losing Padme in childbirth to fall to the dark side. So, yeah, I don't really have many complaints about this movie. The one thing I would change is some of the cringy dialogue. But other than that, this movie's really good. That's why it comes in at 5th place on my list.
Number 4, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
Number 4 on my list is Rogue One. Rogue One is literally the only Disney Star Wars movie I would actually say is good. And a lot of that has to do with Gareth Edwards, the director, having most creative control and not Kathleen Kennedy and the other Disney executives. It's just a basic story of this small group of rebels going on a suicide mission, basically to get the Death Star plans to the Rebel Alliance so A New Hope can happen. And the ending scene where Darth Vader gets onto the Rebel ship and goes berserk with his lightsaber is the best part of that whole movie. Yeah, really no complaints about Rogue One. Can't really get too attached to the main characters in this movie since, well, they go on a suicide mission that kills them all. But if you can get past that, pretty decent, entertaining movie. There are times it really doesn't feel super Star Warsy, but it does feel more Star Warsy than I think any of the other Disney movies that came out since Disney bought Star Wars. So, for all those reasons, Rogue One is number 4 on my list.
Number 3, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi.
Number 3 on my list is Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi really suffers from being the third movie in a trilogy. Most trilogies, the third movie ends up being the worst. And they also follow the New Hope formula midway through the movie. But the good news is Return of the Jedi was really non-stop action from the beginning. From Luke saving everyone pretty much from Jabba's palace, to the Battle of Endor, to really Luke and Vader's duel on the Death Star, and Palpatine trying to turn Luke to the dark side. And really, the whole throne room stuff between Luke and Vader and Palpatine is the best part of that movie. Luke ultimately brings Vader back to the light, and he becomes Anakin Skywalker once more, and that prophecy, which most fans of the prequels thought was stupid, actually comes to be true, where Anakin truly was the chosen one and brought balance to the Force. So yeah, Return of the Jedi is an all-around good movie. The only thing I would change is maybe get rid of the Ewoks. The Ewoks were kind of stupid. Anyway, for just being an all-around good conclusion, Return of the Jedi is 3 on my list.
Number 2, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Now we're getting to the good ones. Number 2 is A New Hope. Now, I know this is a lot of people's favorite Star Wars movie, but for me, there are more reasons why I like number 1 on this list than number 2. But anyway, when it comes to A New Hope, no complaints, really. From Obi-Wan meeting Luke on Tatooine so they can get R2 to the Rebel Alliance for the Death Star plans, to them all meeting Han and Chewie on Tatooine, to them ending up on the Death Star, saving Leia, to Obi-Wan sacrificing himself to Vader so Luke and the gang can escape, to Luke basically helping the Rebel Alliance blow up the Death Star, and Luke using the Force for the first time to really make that miracle shot that blows up the Death Star. I mean, all around, great movie. Just a basic telling of the hero's journey. For all those reasons, that's why A New Hope is 2 on my list.
Number 1, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Number 1 on my list is The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is just a great movie all around. In this one, Luke starts to learn much more about the Force from Yoda. You have the whole Han and Leia getting betrayed by who Han thought was a friend in Lando, which leads to Han getting frozen in carbonite. You have the whole iconic Luke versus Vader duel where Vader reveals the fact that he is Luke's father. And it doesn't really have a happy ending. Everyone's worried for Han's safety, if Han is alive or dead. It ends on a cliffhanger. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure most movies around that time didn't have worrisome endings, I guess. So, for all those reasons, I really have no complaints about Empire, and that's why it is number 1 on my list. So there you have it. That was my rankings of all 11 Star Wars movies. Now, I know this was a little bit of a different video, but you can't always expect a song from me. So, I thought I'd be different this week. With that being said, if you think this video will help inspire others to follow their dreams, then please send it their way. Other than that, that's all I have for you today. So, thanks for watching, and always remember to bite like an eagle. I'll see you next week. I'm on a mission to inspire as many people as possible to follow their dreams. So, if you liked what you saw here today, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It would mean a lot. Until next time, thanks for watching.